Who are we talking about? David. Emily's not here, so I didn't get to hear Jesus, which most of the time works out just fine. But and then he is. You can see him all through. You can see Christ all through the life of David if you just look at it and really examine it. And we're going to bring some of that out tonight, even with David's life. So we've got through David being anointed. We've got through David fighting the big giant Philistine known as Goliath. Okay. There's a town I told you to keep remembering. Gath. Yeah. You always remember that name, Gath. Huh? Did you say Gath? I think Goth would be like Geo. Right. So, anyway, so we've done all that. Saul's been trying to do what to David? Kill him. So we got through the spear chucking in the rooms, and then we got to the cave where Saul was pooping. Okay, you can sugarcoat it all you want. That's just what it was. He was in the restroom and he got caught with his pants down. No. I mean, because you just know that all of David's men said, "Holy crap." Okay, I'm done. Huh? Oh, I could go all day with jokes for this because at least he didn't get the crap scared out of him until afterwards.
Mr. Miller, he tells terrible jokes.
Terrible jokes?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you said my jokes were bad?
No, your jokes are amazing. He laughs at you, he's like, one, and then he doesn't like the comment. Yeah, he's like,
Because really, who couldn't look at what Saul was doing and kind of just have some fun with it? Okay, you can't help it. You got...
have fun with someone.
Well, I mean, like the story, and you got caught with his, like the comment got caught with his pants down. David's been saying, "Holy crap," and, David went up and cut it off, so he had to cut it off and get out of there. So there's all kinds of, you could go too many routes, and I better stop right now because it's going to get out of control.
What's that one word, aardvark?
Aardvark, yes, I was chasing the aardvark. I have a really cute picture of one in Mexico. It is such thing as an aardvark, but it's not what this animal was. I just kept calling it an aardvark because I had no idea what its real name was. It was this little fur ball. So, yes, I'm still chasing the aardvark. So, we've got through all that. Now we've got, of course, David was hanging out with what kind of people? Who was shacked up with him in the cave? Yeah, his family. The worst.
His fam jam.
His fam jam. Yes. He wasn't all that thrilled about it. He wasn't really excited about his fam jam because they were annoying. Has anybody got an annoying family? Yes. Okay. So, and these guys also were known, they owed money. Talked about how they owed money to people and they were just discontent.
I think we're the only group right now that doesn't owe a bunch of money.
Well,
So far.
I try not to owe a bunch of money. So we're going to be getting past, David has been hiding out in the wilderness. He's been floating back and forth between the Philistines and his own people. And so really with the title of this message tonight being titled, "I'm Out There," I always have to choose a background for the screen. And just one question I want to ask you before we get started. Is the last time you actually read a Bible verse the last time you saw one on this screen? It's just my way of saying, are you reading your Bible other than off this TV screen, which I think you are? This is the last time you prayed or were involved in prayer when we did it in here. So that's just my little plug, because I actually asked a guy that today which we were talking about his Bible reading, his prayer life, and I said, when's the last time you read the Bible verse? Was it on a screen in the church? And so just kind of an eye-opener for him. But anyway, we're going to hit some of Samuel, we're going to hit some of Psalms where it chimes in, as it even goes along with Psalms, it chimes in with these. I'm just full of tonight. But anyway, I picked this mountain setting because I don't know if any of you have ever been to the mountains. If you have, if you've ever been up on any of those mountains, you can feel really, really small when you get to see everything that's out there. It's like if you go look at the ocean and just look at the vast amount of water. You can feel really, really small. You can also feel really, really small in here as well. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but we're going to try and attack your brain a little bit today, because how many of you have actually ever just had this statement to God before? I'm out here. Do you even know? Because this is, if you were in this setting right here, this mountainous setting, by yourself, how alone would you feel? Quiet! Anyway, so if you're stuck out there in this setting, you're going to feel pretty lonely, but you can also do the same thing in your bedroom, right? Because do we have a way of isolating ourselves sometimes? Meetings are really good at shutting people out. I can deal with the best of them. I can shut people out like crazy. I can be in this room and not talk to anybody. And it's not necessarily anything anybody else here has done or anything anybody out here is doing. It's just where I'm at. And so sometimes I get to feeling like I'm out there. And whenever you refer to yourself being out there, you usually get to feeling pretty lonely. And for some of you, if there's anybody here tonight that's kind of feeling out there, I hope that God is able to help you through David's life and through the book of Psalms. Has anybody ever felt like you're out there, part of a team? Yeah. So, I mean, even at home with your family, here, wherever it is in school, you can be in a room full of people and feel alone. Does that make sense? Okay? And when you see what David's been going through, how many of you have been able to handle what David's been going through? It's nuts. Because the people that should like you and that should be for you are against you. And actually the people that are against you are allowing you to hide out in their place. That's why I want you to remember the town of Gath, because it doesn't make any sense that that's where the guy that you just killed and cut his head off came from, and that's actually the area you're hiding out in. And so sometimes it's weird that we have to take refuge in places that doesn't look normal for us to take refuge in, because God needs us to hide out there because He's trying to make something for you where you need to be. If you ever get to read the story more further, maybe in horrible English, but where David was hiding in that cave where he cut the corner of Saul's robe off, do you know where that cave was positioned? It was right next to the sheep pens. Where did David come from? The sheep pens. He started out. You start reading about David. That was his job, tending to the sheep. So David started the sheep pens and then found himself back there again in some of his lowliest, most down times, because who he's stuck with, he's trying to be killed. People are trying to kill him. So David's life, can you relate any to his emotions or his feelings whatsoever? People that should be for you are against you. And you're having to hide out where you probably shouldn't be hiding out in until God prepares what He's got for you. God does some crazy things in your life. Would you agree? He will put you in places that doesn't seem right to us, but it's right for Him. For what He's got designed for you. Because that's the weird thing about what God does. I get to feel like tomorrow may be a sad, desperate day. And we're going to hit on that. But that day already exists in Him. That day is already taken care of in His mind. But whose mind is it troubled in? Ours. Because we don't know. Because how many of you want to know? Okay, God, it's great that you know, God, but I want to know. Okay, tell me. And does He tell you? No. Because when tomorrow gets here, is tomorrow not what you thought it was going to be? Has anybody ever worried like crazy over something, and then when you got to that point, really wasn't nothing to worry about at all? Huh?
It's an NHS interview. Yes.
How many of you's got something you are absolutely just dying worrying about right now? Tomorrow, He's already seen it. He already knows what's happening. And trust me, He has your best interest in mind. So look to the person next to you and say, just go with it. Just go with it. Easier said than done, all right? Yes, because we have a word that starts with an A. Does anybody know what that nasty word that starts with an A is?
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
I cried Saturday because I was really my anxiety.
Anxiety is horrible. It's nasty. You ever wonder why it exists? Yeah, because you need it. You need to be. Would you agree you need to be cautious?
Be cautious, but I mean, I think panic attacks are a little much. It's just so, personally not a fan.
I'm not either.
Me either.
But they exist. Therefore, I have to deal with it. So, we are going to be on 1 Samuel 27, 1 through 7. And it says, but David kept thinking to himself. Okay, so who's David talking to? Himself. Does anybody talk to yourself? Okay, where do you find yourself talking to yourself at the most? Shower?
Doing chicken.
I would say it's taking it.
Cruise, you talk to yourself on the mountain, pitching?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
He kept his buddy.
Depends on if you're pitching good or not. You're pitching bad, what are you saying? Coach. Huh?
I think myself
When you're what? Running? Do you talk to yourself when you're playing volleyball?
Yes.
What are you saying?
Please don't let us play it.
So are you talking to yourself about your own abilities or the other people around you?
Yeah, sometimes I talk about
Sometimes I think, why would you do that?
I
All the time. That means you're so stupid.
When you stand in the batter's box.
Yeah, it was so bad the other night. I heard my mom talking to her, and she was like, I don't know what it was, but she was like, she's not gonna throw that pitch. It's a left-handed batter, and I was like, cool. I guess they're not gonna throw that pitch at me. I mean, like, and then I got up there. And,
So there's a lot of mind games involved in sports, right?
yeah, yes.
Okay.
But she wasn't really talking to me. She was talking to her daughter, which I was like, that's weird.
And so you got an FFA contest coming up. What do you have?
Food science.
Food.
Okay.
They smell
We're supposed to have 4 people on a team. Okay, we have 5, so we find out who gets cut tomorrow, and that's just what kind of thing.
Let's just call them the alternate. Okay. Let's give them a try. Let's make it pretty.
For food science, we get to memorize 30 aromas. And then our competitions, we have 10, and then we have our trial test, which is tasting to see which products are off-brand or on-brand.
So it'd be horrid if you had a bad cold and your taste buds were shot.
Oh, yeah. And then we have to take a 50 test, 50 question test, and then we have our letters, and it's and then we have math. So eat.
Yeah, you like
You talk to yourself like you can't.
We believe you like senior myself.
You sing to yourself?
Oh, I do that too.
So,
Riley will talk to myself how long you have getting ready for school.
what are you expecting to happen when you start talking to yourself? What are you expecting to happen?
Sometimes I talk to myself through things like on tests, I think that problem, or like, I don't know, like process of elimination, but I'm like second guessing myself all the time. What if that's wrong, Teresa? What if that is wrong? This is the question that decides if you're not going to district.
Okay, so go ahead.
Like, most of the time I talk myself into like doing something or getting myself like not to do something, like the direction turn.
So for guidance,
Yeah.
you talk to yourself. Because how much does talking to yourself help you slow things down and think things through?
Sometimes it just takes me
It really helps.
I'm gonna lecture on this topic.
Yeah. How many of you are talking to yourself right now? Like, good gosh, move on, get off and talk to yourself. Okay. The reason I ask you why or where, when, or why you talk to yourself is when you're done talking to yourself about, because usually if you're talking to yourself, it's pretty important to you, right? Okay. So when you're talking to yourself, when you get done, is there really anybody else you should involve in this conversation? Give me that Sunday school answer.
Jesus.
Yes. Okay. I've been waiting for that Sunday school answer because David starts talking to himself right off the bat. David kept thinking to himself. Is he thinking to himself? He's talking to himself, right? Because if I think, I'm just not sitting there just I could put a spoon here and try to think it to move, but really in my mind I'd be yelling, come on spoon, move. Okay?
I think about like
Yeah.
Jesus instead of thoughts.
So here's David's thoughts. His thought is, someday Saul is going to get me. It's not a good thought. The best thing I can do is escape to the Philistines. And who are they to him? It's his enemies. Then Saul will stop hunting me in Israelite territory, and I will finally be safe. So David took his 600 men, so he's added 200 since we talked last, and went over and joined Achish, son of Moab, the king of where? Gath. David and his men and their families settled there with Achish and Gath. David brought his 2 wives along with him, Ahinoam from Jezreel, and Abigail, Nabal's widow from Carmel. Nabal means fool, in case you wondered. Word soon reached Saul that David had fled to Gath, so he stopped hunting for him. One day David said to Achish, if it is all right with you, we would rather live in one of the country towns instead of here in the royal city. So Achish gave him the town of Ziklag, which still belongs to the king of Judah this day. And they lived there among the Philistines for a year and 4 months. Can you imagine living with your enemies for a year and 4 months? Now there's some alternatives that are going on here with these kings that are allowing David to stay here. And they've got their own thoughts, they got their own plans as well. But why is David hiding here? Because Saul's not going to pursue him into Philistine country. Because Saul is scared of who? The Philistines. Heck, he was scared to death of the life. So David knew that he had to go hide somewhere that was not normal for him to go hide. Have you ever found yourself in a place of hiding that just didn't seem normal to you? What I mean hiding your thoughts, hiding your emotions, hiding just everything there is for people to know about you. Have you found yourself hiding in places that you shouldn't be hiding? It just doesn't seem right, and you had to hang out there for a while. Why do you think God would have David, because God directed and orchestrated all this, why do you think God had David hide out in a place that just didn't seem right for him to be? Because his rightful place would be back where he's supposed to be, correct? Where does the world say you're supposed to be right now?
On your phone.
On your phone?
On your topic.
Right now, where are the majority of your friends at? At home. Are we a friend to the world or are we an enemy to the world, the church? We're actually a friend, but how does the world view the church? Enemy. Right now, the majority of this country is not in church right now. They're not following God's teachings. So does it seem weird to the world that you're here? Do you feel like sometimes church is a place where you're hiding out? It would seem weird to think that, correct? Because this is where you're supposed to be, right? Okay. Where's some places that you feel like you've hid out before that just didn't seem right? Because was David strong here or was he vulnerable here? Just talk about him. Who's he talking to? Himself. He's talking to himself. He's trying to figure things out. Because how many of you have been stuck in a spot for quite a while and you're still trying to figure those things out? You're still talking to yourself. And you got a position that you're in right now. You don't understand why you're there, but do you feel like God has you there for a reason? Because how many of you have been or do feel like you're in a bad spot right now? Not maybe in every aspect of your life, maybe just pieces of your life. Because how many of you feel like your life is like a puzzle? And it's got pieces that have to fit here to make it complete. And if you keep trying to shove this piece into this spot where it doesn't fit, how hard is it? Have you ever put a puzzle together before? One of those big 1,000-something piece puzzles. 20 of them in your living room, okay? Because that was a big deal when I was a kid, long before these existed, before 60 million channels existed on a television.
Puzzles make it.
They had TV.
They had TV. We had 4 channels and I was the remote, okay? My dad would say, son, go turn the dial, or son, go push the button. I remember we had a push button on our TV. It was so great because I didn't have to go click, 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 click.
TVs were invented in 1920, like 7 or 28, and you still only had 4 channels when you were a kid.
Yeah, because the closest TV channel or stations was Springfield, Joplin, or Fayetteville. There wasn't even one in Rogers at that time.
Yeah. Our bar did when FFA was established.
I'm just saying, you are totally correct. This is a horrible aardvark we're chasing, okay? We put together these big old ginormous puzzles, and if you've ever put one on together before, how frustrating is it whenever you're trying to find this piece that goes in this spot, and you find one that looks really, really close,
It does not.
but it does not fit, and how hard you push on it to make it go.
My thumb turns white.
It turns white because you're like, Grandma, I know this will go. If I just shave this piece off, it'll be okay. But then what exists? Then what happens is you've got a piece fitting somewhere it ain't supposed to fit. You got the piece that does fit, it's supposed to fit in here, but now it won't fit in that one because you've altered this one.
Yes, and now like a little. I'll get the whole thing done, it's one piece sitting there, and it's a little.
When you're missing,
So you jack it up,
Yeah.
okay? Sometimes God has us struggle with that piece that doesn't fit, so He can prepare us for the time when it does fit, if that makes sense to you. All of God's plan for your life. That's why I tell you, when you worry about things that happen tomorrow, He's already seen it. He already knows. It's kind of like that salvation that I have. He sees how bad I have messed up. He sees how bad I'm going to mess up. And He still went to the cross for me anyway. Because trust me, I can out-sin you with the best of it. I'm trying to cram stuff so crazy in places that it don't fit that it's messing me up. Some of you have got things you're not intended to have. I've talked to kids before that have fake Snapchat accounts so their parents can't see them. Fake Instagram accounts so their parents can't see it. Fake Facebook accounts so parents can't see it. Fake phone numbers and text messaging. So people can't see what they're doing. Because we all want, how would you just love 100% of your life to be consumed by God? Everybody in here should say yes. I was talking to a guy this week about keto diets. Has anybody ever got involved in diet fads or heard of people get involved in these diet fads or whatever, and they're just so tiring to keep up with? And so these great things in your body called cellulite are shaped like honeycombs. And each pocket has they're not all made the same size. If you ever wonder where those dimples come from, that's a collapsed cellulite pocket, because the honeycomb collapsed. Don't worry, it can fill back up. We were talking about, he was talking about the stuff that you can eat in this keto diet. This is the big thing right now. This keto rage is a big thing right now. And so, to do it properly, there's some disgusting things that you have to do. You have to test yourself 4 times a day with keto strips. Do you know how you test yourself with a keto strip? Pee on it. You pee on a keto strip, and that keto strip will tell you if you're burning fat or not. It'll tell you if you've ate the wrong foods. Yeah, so if I eat like eggs in the morning and I eat a small little dab of oats, it'll probably be okay once I test at noon, because I probably burnt that little gram of oats off. But if I was to go eat a big cheeseburger or a bunch of bread and then test myself again at 5 o'clock, it's going to say, you ain't burning squat because you've ingested too much crap. And so he was talking about what all he had to eat, what he could eat and what he couldn't eat. Because abs are made in the kitchen. You can do all the setups you want to, but if you want a 6-pack abs, you're going to have to It's what you put in, what determines your muscle tone, determines your size. It's crazy. You ever seen Dwayne Johnson? The Rock? You ever seen?
Shout out.
He eats an enormous amount of meat a day. Unreal. There's no way I'd throw up that much meat. But he has to ingest that much to maintain the muscle size that he has. If he stopped eating that much meat, he would shrink. He has to feed himself, and it's all what he puts in. Probably not as long as you think. Because the deal with diets, people think you got to starve yourself to die. You actually got to eat. You have to eat
I just need a card.
a certain way. Oh, I'm sure he ingests a ton of. I remember who was the swimmer that won the Olympics? Michael Phelps. They talked about his calorie intake in a day. Because calories are not your enemy, like a lot of people want you to think. It was unreal the amount of calories he took in a day. Because has anybody ever swam laps in a pool?
It is tiring.
Or just went swimming and how you felt when you got out of the water? Exactly.
I feel like jumping.
Yeah, I watched today Will Smith's routine for the marathon that he ran. It was underwater running while carrying dumbbells on his hands.
How do you do that?
It's not, well, the dumbbells hold you down. So he is just running along the bottom of the pool. And it's all what you put
You
in.
can barely walk in a pool. I can barely walk.
I'm just saying.
His lungs were
It's not for everybody, okay?
Wait, did you have like a breathing tube going down to the ground?
He can
Nope.
do his blood.
Run to the other end and drop the weights, come to the top. Get your breath, go down. It teaches you to run with your lungs having pressure on it. Because he was running this half, it was a half marathon. I think it was a half marathon. He was running it in a place where the oxygen level is not that kind to your lungs. The reason that so many good runners come from Kenya is because of the oxygen level.
We're off topic just a little bit.
A little bit.
But
Oh, we've been sent back into this.
People are obsessed with most of these diets. These people are obsessed with being in shape and all this stuff. But what really determines whether their body is in shape? It's what they put in. It's what they fill in. A lot of the stuff that you put in depends on where you're hiding it. Would it be okay where my phone's at? If my wife came in right now, does she know the password to my phone? Yes, she does. If she picked up my phone and started reading my text messages, looking at my Facebook, my photos, or whatever, would I freak out? No. Because I've trained myself not to make that phone something that I would freak out if somebody picked it up. I work with people that if we touch their phones, they freak out because they have stuff that they don't want you to see. That they don't want anybody to see on there. They become a slave to what? This little bitty box that they put in the back of their pocket is like this horrendous shock collar they're wearing right now.
I dropped mine on the floor.
It's a phone. It's,
Come on.
people are slaves to these things. They allow that little box to determine whether they have freedom or not. Because how many of you feel like you're hiding in your phone sometimes? It's not where I ought to be hiding. So David gets into this distress mode. And he gets to going into Psalms 56, 1 through 13, and you get to see where he really is. You get to see his emotion. Because really, if you were to let your emotion out, I want you to look at his words and see if any of it at all relates to you. If you can, because a lot of the Psalms actually, a lot of the verses that he writes, you could read them and think he's just whining a lot. But he's really just trying to figure out who. He's trying to figure himself out. How many of you feel like you're a whiner sometimes? Even a whiner to yourself. Who are you really trying to figure out? I'm trying to figure me out. Now my wife may think when I'm sick, oh boy.
That's every guy.
We were talking about with somebody the other day, when I come out of anesthesia from surgery, you don't want to be in the room. I am a bear. I am mean, and I don't even know I'm doing it. But my wife says I am hateful mean when I come out of anesthesia. And I don't have her one bit. So, Psalms 56, 1 through 13, you're going to see the emotion roller coaster of David in this time. He says, "Oh God, have mercy on me, for people are hounding me. My foes attack me all day long. I'm constantly hounded by those who slander me." Are you relating with this guy? "And many are boldly attacking me. But when I'm afraid, I put my trust in you." I praise God for what He has promised. I trust in God, so why should I be afraid? Who holds tomorrow? God does. What can mere mortals do to me? They are always twisting what I say. Can you feel that one? They spend their day plotting to harm me. They come together to spy on me, watching my every step, eager to kill me. Don't let them get away with their wickedness. You're going to see them change speeds here a little bit. In your anger, O God, bring them down. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. My enemies will retreat when I call to you for help. This I know. God is on my side. I praise God for what He has promised. Yes, I praise the Lord for what He has promised. I trust in God, so why should I be afraid? What can mere mortals do to me? I will fulfill my vows to you, O God, and I will offer sacrifice of thanks for your help. For you have rescued me from death. You have kept my feet from slipping. So now I can walk in your presence, O God, in your life-giving light. And the crazy thing is that he has this attitude living in a place where people want to kill him. And he talked about, how many of you can relate with the people that want to slander you? The people that take your words and twist them around. How do you deal with these people? How do you really deal with these people that just
Not very kind.
drive you crazy? Twist your words around.
I try to treat them with respect, but whenever it comes down to it, I get really angry at them, and I really just want to like throat punch them, but I know I can't. Because I really want to get the rules, and I don't want to do that.
You know, honesty is what I want, so throat punch is what you give me, throat punch is what you give me, okay? I was talking to my brother today because there's been one of our really good Christian speakers, Francis Chan, got attacked this week because he went and spoke at a conference where there's a bunch of speakers that we would call phonies or fakes, that they just preach, they just speak on a one-sided deal, they don't give you the full gospel. And he took it on the chin pretty hard because they took a picture of all the speakers together and he was standing there with his arms around them showing love, and he got hammered because they said, oh, it's terrible. Francis Chan has changed his ways, he's hanging out with these false prophets and he's just going along with them doing all this stuff. But the one thing they didn't do is they didn't go back and listen to the message he preached. They just saw the picture of him standing there and they didn't go back and really listen to what had happened. And Francis Chan got up and spoke a message about the gospel of Jesus Christ and gave the truth to where these guys wasn't. And Francis is super, he has no social media whatsoever, didn't want to be involved in it, didn't have a Facebook page, don't have Instagram, don't have nothing, because he says it's just a place of war and I don't want to be a part of it. Somebody told him what was happening, so he made a statement to some Christian media, I can't remember which one. He said, I went to this not because it's where I thought I should be, because it's where I thought I needed to be. Because if I didn't go there and speak the gospel, who would? So he did. I remember Rick Warren last year took it on the chin. If you don't know Rick Warren, he's a real good, godly teacher, Saddleback Church. He went and spoke at a Muslim conference. How would you feel if you saw a great Christian leader go speak at a Muslim conference? So Rick took it pretty hard, and Rick said, if I didn't go there and speak, would they ever hear the true gospel of Jesus Christ? It's not where he should be hanging out, but it's where God put him. You see David hanging out, not where he should be, but it's where God put him. Jesus Christ shouldn't have been having to hang out where he was, but that's where God put him. Whenever I read this part in Psalms and started really thinking about it, it took me back, actually it shot me ahead at this time, to when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane praying. The Garden of Gethsemane, I told you before, means olive press. So it's a place of pressure. So Jesus was praying to God to take this cup away from him, if you remember that. Because was Jesus all that excited about being crucified? No, he wasn't. Would he have asked God to take it away if he was? No. He was God, but he was human at the same time. Not all that excited to be beaten, whipped, and nailed to a tree. I love you guys, but if somebody wanted me to go get whipped and nailed to a tree for you, it'd be a pretty hard decision for me to make. If there was another way, I'd want to find it, okay? David understands where he's at the ultimate victory. He stands with God. David understood, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but I know that you're bigger than my enemies. He'd seen it already. He'd seen it with a big giant. He'd seen God put Saul in front of him numerous times, but it just wasn't right for him to do that. For a lot of you, God has you in a place that you don't want to be, but he needs you to be where you're at. You may have a circle of friends right now. You don't want to be in that circle of friends, but right now, God needs you to be there until he prepares the way for you to lead them. David got stuck in a cave full of people he didn't want to be with. But God needed him to be there because who else was going to lead these people? They're probably busy running around talking to themselves too. Do you ever feel like talking to yourself sometimes and it's bad advice?
Would you say sometimes what you guys are then really do like instead of really then?
I would never ever discount that. You just have to make sure that your eyes are on him, not on the person who's leading. I think if God puts you in a position, you all, even in this room, yeah, I'm the youth pastor, but do you feel like you could lead this group? You may not feel like it. It doesn't matter whether you feel like it, because you don't have to be a biblical scholar to be up here to give God's word. God's the one that equips you, not me. I'll give you the stuff, but it's whether you have a relationship with him or not, how he equips you. That's why I say the things like, it's the last time you read a Bible verse when you saw it on the screen. It's the last time you prayed when we prayed in here. If that's the case, then I don't think that there'd be any leading going on. David had what I hope he'd have. He understood where he was at. It's not where he wanted to be. He probably still had questions, right? Because he starts off talking to himself with a question. You think David doubted? You think David felt discouraged, defeated? Of course he did. We still know who is seen tomorrow, who knows what's going to happen. And would you agree that God probably has your best interest in mind tomorrow? A lot of you think, I don't know, we'll see when we get there. It's just up to you. For him, I put fighting two enemies, and you can see what these people are trying to get out of David, because now the people that should be against him that he's hiding out with are trying to use him for their good. David and his men spent their time raiding the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites. We could throw the Cellulites in there. People who had lived near Shur toward the land of Egypt since ancient times. David did not leave one person alive in the villages he attacked. He took the sheep, goats, cattle, donkeys, camels, clothing, before returning home to see King Achish. Where did you make your raid today? Achish would ask, and David would reply, against the south of Judah, the Jermelites and the Kenites. Is that where he attacked? Are those names different than the ones I named off? Yes. That's why David was leaving nobody alive. David was attacking their people, the Philistines, left and right, because they thought he was their friends. David's pretty savage. He's like a double-edged spy. You know, he's like James Bond. Okay. That's right. So no one was left alive to come to Gath to tell where he had really been. This happened again and again while he was living among the Philistines. Achish believed David and thought to himself, By now the people of Israel must hate him bitterly. Now he will have to stay here and serve me forever. For you have rescued me from death, you have kept my feet from slipping, so now I can walk in your presence, O God, in your life-giving light. How many of you feel like you're fighting two enemies sometimes? How many people do you feel like you're fighting during the day?
I feel like a lot of times it's yourself and God. You know, what you want, what God wants. Like that's pretty cool.
I've got enemies, and then I've got an enemy. And I spend more time fighting the enemy than I do my enemies outside. I hope that God helps you to stop trying to find the right way to word this sometimes. I hope God helps you with your fights that you're fighting on the enemy. I hope that you include God in the conversations that you have with yourself. And when you're talking to yourself, that you're including Him in those conversations. I can talk to myself all day long. I find that when people come and ask me for my advice, this is what I say: what do you want me to tell you? Because what do they really want to hear? They want to hear what they want to hear. Because if I give them the advice they don't like, they'll go to the next person. Sometimes the advice I give myself is not the best advice. I have a hard time saying no when people ask me to do this or that, and I wear myself out. I want you to stop fighting where you don't need to be fighting. I want you to examine the real battles that you're fighting inside yourself. I want you to see where God has you that you may not be that all comfortable with, but He has you there for a reason, because He needs you to start fighting some of His battles, just like you've seen David. He's all scared to death of where he's at. He starts out talking to himself. He starts out having to go hide where it just doesn't seem right for him to go hide, for him to take his family, his men, and live and dwell. Because if you see at the end, he starts winning battles for his people, the Israelites. Because he's really fighting the Philistines, and he's fooling his enemies. Because sometimes you have an enemy that you need to fool. How many of you think you can fool the devil? I think I can fool him. Because he's not God. I can't fool God. I'll try. See how it works. I may not be able to. He's pretty slick. Don't be all that upset where God has you hiding out. Because He's got some battles He needs you to fight and win for Him. Because whether you want to realize it or not, you are a leader in some form or fashion. There's somebody looking up to you. They may only stand that tall. But there's somebody looking to you for advice. Somebody's looking to you for some kind of leadership. You may not see yourself as a leader, but I guarantee you, if God wanted to put you up in front of a crowd of people and tell your story, He'd do it. And He'd use it. It wouldn't matter how you thought you did when you got done. I may have confused the living crap out of you tonight. God confuses the living crap out of me too. And it's because sometimes I'm not where I think I should be, but He has me there for a reason. I'd love to be full-time doing this for a living, but for some reason, He has me hiding out where I don't want to be, because He needs me to be there. Some of you may feel that way about your house. Some feel that way about your class, your team. Some of you just feel that way about the emotions on the inside of you. Because you're one big puzzle. And you're trying to cram crap in a hole that don't fit. Stop turning your thumb while pushing on it. If God puts you where He needs you, He'll make you fit. You'll never not fit with Him. Are you confused? David's a cool guy. God's better. He tells a good story. Before you guys go to sleep, I'll close.